Welcome to my channel. Story start. I'll never forget the day she told me she loved me. It was late autumn, and we were sitting on the porch of her parents' lake house, the leaves turning brilliant shades of red and gold around us. She looked at me with a smile so genuine, so full of warmth, that I felt like the luckiest man alive. "You're the one," she whispered, her voice trembling slightly. "I just know it." I didn't think it was possible to feel that way again. Not until she came into my life. We built something together, a home, a future, I thought. We were a team, a unit so strong that nothing could break us, and for a while it was perfect. Her laugh was my favorite sound, the way she lit up when I walked into a room, the way she reached for my hand without thinking. It all felt so natural, so right. But looking back, you can see now that the cracks started forming long before I realized. The late nights at work, the sudden unexplained trips, the distance that grew between us, like a creeping shadow. I tried to talk to her about it. "Is everything okay?" I'd ask, my voice careful, not wanting to seem too suspicious, too needy, and she'd always smile, kiss my cheek and say, "Of course, babe." Just a busy week. It wasn't just her absence that hurt. It was the subtle shift in her tone, the way she stopped laughing at my jokes, the way her phone was always on silent, always face down. She had always been open before, sharing everything from silly memes to work frustrations. Now there were these guarded moments, these gaps in the conversations that used to flow so effortlessly. I tried to ignore the nagging feeling. I told myself we were just going through a rough patch. Every couple does, right? But the nagging never went away, and then, one night, it all unraveled. She had gone to a work dinner. Nothing unusual. She had them all the time, but when I called her to ask if she wanted me to pick her up, the phone went straight to voicemail. That had never happened before. My mind raced, but I kept telling myself not to jump to conclusions. Maybe she was in a loud restaurant. Maybe her battery had died. The truth was worse than I could have imagined. When she came home hours later, her hair slightly mused, her smile forced. I knew something was wrong. I didn't say anything at first, just watched her ass. He made her excuses. "Sorry, I didn't hear my phone. It was just a long night." Her voice too bright, her words too rehearsed. I wanted so badly to believe her. I wanted to pretend that everything was fine, but deep down I knew it wasn't, until a few weeks later that I found the proof. I wasn't looking for it, at least. That's what I told myself. But one night, when she was in the shower, her phone buzzed on the nightstand. I glanced at it, expecting a harmless notification. But what I saw made my stomach drop. The message preview was short, just a few words, but it was enough to shatter the fragile hope I'd been clinging to. "Can't wait to see you again." I picked up the phone, my hands shaking, and scrolled through the messages. Each one felt like a punch to the gut. There were photosplans, inside jokes that had nothing to do with me. I couldn't breathe. My chest felt tight, my vision blurred. The woman I thought I knew, the woman I had built my life with, was sharing a secret life with someone else. I confront had her that night. I remember standing in the bedroom, my voice trembling, holding her phone like it was evidence in a trial. "Who is she?" She froze, her face pale, the color draining from her cheeks. "What are you talking about?" she said, her voice too high, too defensive. "You know what I'm talking about," I said, my voice growing steadier as the anger took over thumb. "Sidges, the photos you've been lying, Tom?" She opened her mouth, then closed it again as if searching for the right words. Finally she said, "I'm sorry, but you made a mistake." "A mistake?" I repeated, the words sounding hollow in my ears. "A mistake is forgetting to pick up milk. This is a betrayal." She started crying, pleading for forgiveness, promising it was over, that she would never see him again, but her words felt empty. The trust was gone, shattered into pieces that I couldn't put back together. I couldn't look at her without seeing the lies, without imagining her with him. The life we had built was crumbling, and no amount of promises could save it. It spent the next few weeks in a daze going through the motions of work and daily life, all while trying to figure out what to do. I couldn't just leave, it was my home too. But every moment in that house felt suffocating. Every time I saw her, I was reminded of what she had done. It needed a plan. I needed a way to move on, and then her birthday was approaching. It was supposed to be a celebration, a day filled with love and laughter. I had planned to surprise her with a weekend getaway, a gift she'd been hinting at for months. But now the thought of celebrating her, of pretending everything was okay, made my stomach turn instead. I decided to give her something else, something that would finally end the shade and allow me to start over. I spent hours with my lawyer, preparing the paperwork, making sure every detail was in place. I wanted it to be clean, straightforward, no messy legal battles, no drawn-out fights, just a clear, definitive end to the life we had shared. I would serve her with divorce papers on her birthday. It wasn't about revenge, it was about closure. Her birthday started like any other, though the air between us was heavy with unspoken tension. She was cheerful, greeting me. In the morning, with an awkward smile, I returned it, but we both knew it wasn't genuine. I had the papers ready, tucked in my bag, waiting for the right moment. She went about her usual routine, answering birthday messages, chatting with friends who were showering her with well wishes. Meanwhile, I prepared myself for what I was about to do. It wasn't easy to stay composed, to keep the anger and heartbreak at bay, but I knew I had to see it through. That evening, I handed her a small gift, a bracelet she had admired months ago. Here, his eyes lit up for a moment, a brief flash of the woman I had fallen in love with before the weight of the past weeks crept back in. She looked at me, searching my face as if she could sense something was coming. I told her I needed to talk to her, that we needed to have a serious conversation. We sat down in the living room, and I took a deep breath. I thought a lot about this. I began, my voice steady, about what you've done, about what it means for us. She opened her mouth to speak, but I raised a hand to stop her. Please, just let me finish. I explained how much her betrayal had hurt me, how it had shattered the trust one thought we had built. I told her I had tried to imagine moving past it, but no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't. Every time I look at you, I see the lies, I see the messages, I see him, I said, my voice cracking, despite my effort to stay calm. Tears streamed down her face. I'll do anything, she said. I'll go to therapy. I'll cut off all contact with him. I'll prove to you that I can be better. But I shook my head. It's too late. You didn't just make a mistake, you made a choice over and over again. You chose him, you chose to lie to me. And I can't live my life wondering if it will happen again. Then I pulled out the envelope. I placed it on the table in front of her. I'm filing for divorce. I said, I've already spoken to a lawyer. Everything is ready. She stared at the envelope as if it were a bomb waiting to go off on my birthday. She whispered, her voice thick with disbelief. I'm sorry, I said, but you left me no choice. You took the life we built and destroyed it. I'm just trying to pick up the pieces and move on. She broke down, sobbing into her hands, but I didn't reach out to comfort her. I couldn't. The person I had loved, the person I thought I knew, wasn't the person sitting in front of me anymore, and as much as it hurt to watch her fall apart, I knew I had to stand firm. In the weeks that followed, I stayed focused on my own healing. I started therapy to work through the anger and sadness, to understand why I had stayed so long when I knew something was wrong. I leaned on friends and family who reminded me of my worth, who helped me remember the man I was before all of this. I packed up the house, dividing our belongings as cleanly and painlessly as I could. She moved out shortly after, leaving behind memories. He no longer wanted to hold on to. The silence that followed was both painful and freeing. For the first time in months, I could breathe. Over time, I found a new rhythm. I rediscovered hobbies I had put aside, spent weekends with friends who made me laugh again, and took steps toward rebuilding my life. It wasn't easy. There were moments when the loneliness crept in, when I questioned whether I had made the right choice, but those moments were fleeting. And as the months went on, they became fewer and farther, between eventually I found myself in a place I never thought I'd be at peace. I wasn't defined by her betrayal or the pain it caused me. I was defined by how I had chosen to move forward, to rebuild, to find happiness again on my own terms. And while it was a hard journey, it was one that led me to a stronger, more fulfilling life. Her birthday may have been the day I served the papers, but it was also the day I took back control. It was the day I stopped living in the shadow of her choices and started living for myself. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe my channel.